Hey guys! I figure I'd try to use my own voice in this video. Let me know if this is an improvement or something that we should never speak of again. So today's video we will be covering the topic of narrative therapy and how it can be used to help increase performance in athletes competing at any level. This is truly a hidden gem that I think will gain more popularity in the coming decade. To briefly give us some context, let's talk a little bit about what narrative therapy is and where it came from. What are its main principles and how we're going to use it in today's lesson. The foundation is based off of French philosopher Michel Foucault. He's known as the godfather of social constructionism. Social constructionism is the idea that people often develop the world in a social context, and that what we perceive as reality depends on shared assumptions. Many things that we take for granted and believe are objective reality are created by society, and that changes when society changes. Narrative therapy had its inception and had begun around the 1970s by Australian social workers Michael White and David Epstein. Often working with clients, both White and Epstein would see how society can negatively offer an individual a story that may not be accurate. These stories can be deeply embedded in the client, so it's imperative that both the coach and the client work closely together to build a strong relationship. Now, in doing so, a big part of this relationship building is going to be focusing on listening and telling or retelling those stories given a specific event. And lastly, the main focus is to be able to separate the individual from their problems. Let's describe a tale of two athletes. We have two youth football players that started playing football at the same age, and they were presented in a situation where they have to score the game-winning penalty kick. The first player, let's call Patrick, although anxious and nervous, was able to score the game-winning PK and was praised by his teammates and family. While player B, Emma, which felt the same feelings as Patrick had actually missed her shot and her team ended up losing. It is at this stage that the players will start creating stories about themselves based off of this one experience. If we look at Patrick, you might think that he's going to create a story that would be around his ability to handle pressure. He might view himself as being able to handle high pressure situations or think, I am a top performer. This internal sense of accomplishment or capability to perform under pressure will radiate out to different stages of his life. First starting with family, friends, and then it'll grow to school. Now, if we look at Emma, she's going to go through the same process as Patrick did. The only difference is that she's running a negative story about herself. She might have the idea that she's unable to handle pressure or label herself as being a loser. Simply just negative thoughts all around. Now, with this will radiate from her to her inner circle, family, friends, and then maybe a little bit more outward towards school or even her team, and then depending how she's able to connect with social media, society itself. It's the same process used for both of these athletes, however, they yield different outcomes. Now that we have the stories created, and each of our players are presented with the same situation, a PK to win the match for the team. Did anyone take a guess as to who wins and who loses? Well, to save you some time, Patrick's able to use his positive story to help him overcome any pressure and score yet another goal. Emma's negative story affects her ability to perform and she misses the goal again. Both of the stories are going to be reinforced based off of this result, and the cycle can repeat itself over and over again. Luckily in our example, Emma is a very determined young lady and seeks to get help. Wanting to perform better under pressure, she goes to get the help of a mental coach, and she tells him what happens. The coach spends a lot of time understanding the situation and really wants to know exactly what her thoughts are and what her feelings are about and how does that affect her. The coach knows that there is a relationship between how she feels about herself and how she performs on the field. After several sessions with a coach, Emma is tasked with creating a narrative therapy journal. In her journaling, she's going to be focusing on three main aspects. The first aspect is going to be focusing on identifying a specific event that created a negative experience. And in this case, it was the first missed penalty kick. She's going to recall it in great detail. The next time she's going to journal, she's going to write about the experience, but from somebody else's perspective. It could be a coach, a teammate, or a family member. Ideally, all three. In narrative therapy, it's very important to work on separating the individual from the problem. Oftentimes, people see themselves as the problem. This doesn't have a positive relationship with performance, and it is very paramount if you're coaching somebody who may benefit from this technique to try to separate the individual from the quote-unquote problem. So instead of saying, I identify myself as a choke artist, we can say, Emma, you are a person who had a lot of pressure on you for that penalty kick. Now the result doesn't exactly reflect who you are as an individual. And then finally, on the third stage is to rewrite the situation, completely omitting any negative experiences and instead introducing positive ones or productive ones. We should write something like, I can perform under pressure, or I enjoy the experience of penalty kicks at the ends of games, or I do really well focusing on the process of my routine. The end goal is to get her into the moment rather than letting her mind drift off, which can often lead into catastrophizing or thinking of the worst. So after working with her coach for a couple weeks, she's again presented with the exact same situation as before. But now that she has practiced and worked on her story, she's able to focus on the things that will help her produce a desired result. Process orientation rather than outcome orientation, or focusing on her negative story. And lo and behold, guess what? She actually makes the kick. Now, this is a nice, clean example of how we can replace one story with another and then reinforce it over and over again. I know this example is very black and white. However, this technique is very effective in many different situations. It's going to be used for athletes just like Emma that have an issue performing at a certain event. Or if you see an athlete or individual with any type of self-esteem issues, this is also a very effective technique. I've personally used this several times and have seen great results with my athletes. As coaches, we need to be patient. This is a writing process. Normally, it will take several weeks. However, we're attacking the roots of many deep psychological problems. So if we can attack an issue at the foundations, chances of it reoccurring can be greatly eliminated. Remember, it's more important to deal with the core of a problem rather than just always reacting to the surface level of the issue and never dealing with it. To sum up everything, I think there's a great quote by Michael Jordan that kind of embodies the idea of creating your own story. If you accept the expectations of others, especially negative ones, then you never will change the outcome. I hope this video was helpful. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to contact me through the email below. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.